What is the Statue of Liberty? Chapter 4. The Hand with the Torch. Bartholdi decided to work with Gadget, Gauthier, and Scie, a Paris company that had a metal workshop. Most statues were made of bronze, marble, or stone. On the advice of his former teacher, Eugène Vellet de Luc, Bartholdi decided to use copper. Copper was cheaper and lighter in weight, it was easier to hammer, and it wouldn't crack when it was bent. He would build his statue as a copper shell and would figure out a support structure to put inside it later on. To start, workers doubled the size of Bartholdi's favorite model to make a plaster copy of that stood about 9.5 feet tall. After that, they made an even bigger model at about 38 feet tall. Multiplying it by 4 again, they planned to enlarge the statue to its final size over 151 feet tall. There was no way to fit the statue that tall inside the workshop. Instead, they decided to cut the 38-foot plaster model into 8 horizontal sections that were like layers of a cake. Then they measured each layer separately using rulers, compasses, and strings that hung down from overhead to various points on its surface. Using these measurements, they enlarged each layer to full size. Later, they would put everything together. All right, so we can see 6 feet, 9.5 feet, 38 feet, and finally to 151 feet. All right, the first order of business was making the full-sized hand and torch. Carpenters built many wooden molds around the plaster model of the hand and torch part. The molds were made to fit snugly against it. When they were shaped just right, the molds were removed. Next, large flat sheets of copper were heated in ovens and with simple blowtorches to soften them. The copper was only about 1/10 of an inch thick, the thickness of 2 stacked pennies. Workers pressed a copper sheet inside each wood mold. Whack! They carefully hammered the copper sheet so it was bent and curved to match the mold shape. This process is called repousser, a French word that means push back. It took 21 sheets of copper to make the hand and torch. It was going to take over 300 copper sheets for the entire Statue of Liberty. The start of the Philadelphia Fair was fast approaching. The workshop was loud with banging hammers as 20 men worked 7 days a week for months. Still, the hand and torch part were not ready in time. This really disappointed Bartholdi. In May of 1876, he reluctantly sailed off to the United States without a piece of his statue. He hoped it would arrive soon after the opening ceremonies. 200 temporary buildings had been created just for the Philadelphia Fair, including a gas-walled exhibition hall. It covered over 21 acres, making it the biggest building in the world at the time. Exhibits from the United States were in the middle of the hall, with other countries' exhibits around them. There was meteorites, Native American tool and arts, and exotic animals, including a stuffed walrus and polar bear. A new invention called the telephone was on display. People had never seen such fantastic sights. About 10 million visitors came to the fair. That was equal to about 1/5 of the entire U.S. population in the 1870s. As for the hand and torch, they didn't arrive until August. Visitors paid 50 cents to climb a ladder inside the forearm. 12 to 15 people at a time could stand outside on the balcony that ringed the torch. The hand and torch stood as tall as a 3-story building. The hand's fingernail measured 10 inches by 13 inches. There was a painting of what the entire statue would look like on the base below the torch. Visitors must have been awestruck, imagining how huge the finished statue could be. Bartholdi's exhibit was a sensation.